The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. This is Josh Koza, the Client Experience Manager here at the Exit Planning Institute, and we are very excited to have Christine Hollinden presenting today's topic. Before I turn things over to her, just a couple of quick normal housekeeping notes from EPI. Everyone is muted today, so if you have questions, please use the question box in the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen. I will be monitoring those and will bring those up to Christine to answer at the end of the presentation, time permitting. Also, this webinar is being recorded, so we will also get a recording of this session out to you this afternoon via email, so you can go back and reference what you heard today and possibly come up with some more questions from myself or Christine. So Christine is the founding principal of Hollinden Marketers and Strategists and has a close relationship with EPI. If some of you, I know, were at the summit last year, she and her firm were a part of that, and we're very excited that they're going to be a part of that again this year in Nashville in September. She will be speaking on the main stage doing a general session, so we're very excited for that. But I will step away now and turn it over to Christine.
Great. Thank you, Josh, and welcome everyone to Marketing Solutions for Professional Advisors. Again, I'm Christine Hollinden, principal and founder of Hollinden Marketers and Strategists out of Houston, Texas. We're a marketing consultancy working with professional service firms across the country. So I've been involved in Exit Planning Institute for a number of years, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be with you today and to present this webinar. So our objectives for the webinar today, one is I want to establish the baseline you need upon which to grow, help you understand the marketing tactics that will support that growth, and focus and drill down into how many new clients you actually need to hit your revenue and growth goals. We'll review a handful of the literally dozens of marketing channels or tactics you can implement to support your goals. I'm going to share a few of my favorite tools to help you automate and leverage your marketing efforts, because we know that time is money for both you and your clients. So my goal is to help you make your marketing more efficient. Before we jump into some of the specifics about marketing your practice, let's begin talking about your practice. You always want to start with some sort of sales forecasting, really just like you talk about the revenues and sales forecasting with your clients. You want to start there for your own practice. So first question is, what are your growth goals? Just like your clients have different goals, and all those goals, for the most part, are their goals. That's what they want to achieve. So you have to think about what type of organization you want to have. What is right for you? How many new clients do you need to meet that goal? And you want to think through in terms of predicting revenue from a perspective of what is that value of a client, or what's your average deal size, your average fee size for a client? Then how many new clients do you need in order to achieve the revenue goals you've set forth for your practice? What I see, and the reason I start here, is that when I go into firms, it is the norm for them to have these large target lists. They have target lists a mile long, and they're working hundreds, if not sometimes thousands, of these opportunities. And truth be told, it's really just a name on a list. There is no opportunity. It's just this mass market list. So at any given time, most organizations shouldn't have that big of a target list unless you're some huge national or international conglomerate. Your target list is most likely pretty small and focused. But when you take a more process-driven approach to sales forecasting, it's easy then to determine which leads to focus on and more accurately predict your revenue, and then build a marketing plan around real goals, the actual numbers, so that you can have an effective and efficient use of your resources. And that's what it's all about. And I want you to think through that and be really focused and honing in and protective of your time. So, for example, here's some sales forecasting. Of course, this shows, several different regions, but if you look at, here's the revenue. So you want to think about where it says region on the side, you can replace that if you have different types of service lines. So it may, instead of the West region, it may be different types of services that you provide. You might have strictly consulting type of services. You might have services associated with or fees associated with a transaction, etc. So you can put the service lines in replace where we have West, East, Central. And then you want to look at how that breaks down in terms of your revenues by those service lines or service sectors, what have you. Then what is that average deal size per sector? And build that in. Then what kind of revenue do you think you would need from or plan to achieve from your marketing efforts in general? So you might have things that are already in the queue or already in your pipeline, or deals that you're already working with, clients that you're already working with that will move from one stage to the other. And so a certain percentage of that is going to come from your marketing, a certain percentage of your revenue is going to come from your marketing efforts. So what percentage do you think that's going to be? And then from the time you have a lead to closing, what percentage of leads do you actually close as a new client? So what's that percentage look like? And some of this you might have to just kind of guess. And so in this sales forecasting model, it comes out with the actual number of clients you need by service sector. This identifies it as region, but by service sector, so that you can then get an accurate estimate of what you need to concentrate on, what you need to achieve. Now, this may actually change throughout the year, so you want to come back to your sales forecast throughout the year, maybe quarterly, to see if anything's changed in your prediction. So once you've kind of gone through that and you say, I really only need 2 clients or 5 clients or 10 clients, and that breaks down into these types of clients and the revenue by those sectors or segments or service lines, what have you. Then you can look at what's the target market. So do you have specific target markets by those service lines or service sectors or segments? Who are they? What do they want? What motivates them? And you want to really get into their motivations and their head. Put yourself in their shoes. Spend enough time analyzing their target market, because not everyone should be part of your target market. You want to clarify and segment them based on demographic elements like age, gender, geographic location, but you also want to dig into their psyche, and that is psychodemographics. what makes them tick? What are they motivated by? What are their issues, their challenges? Where do they stand? How do they think? Are they educated? Do they think about things in a certain way? Are they linear thinkers? Do they appreciate charts? Do they appreciate face-to-face? Is trust their biggest motivator? What is it that makes them tick? Doing so will help you hone anything you do from a marketing perspective so that you're better communicating and getting your messages across to that particular target audience. And I encourage clients to really spend time doing this kind of analysis up front before they decide what type of marketing tactics or marketing channels should be used. And the most common mistake I see is that they all want to jump to tactics. They all want to jump to writing a blog or doing e-marketing or e-blasts or writing articles or doing presentations or doing a new website or what have you. And they have no idea who they're talking to. They haven't spent enough time in the strategy. And that's equivalent to you not even meeting one of your clients and saying, sure, we'll help you sell your business and help you plan your exit strategy, without really understanding who they are and what their motivations are and what they're trying to achieve and really digging in. We know that wouldn't be a good approach for your services. You wouldn't be doing justice for your clients. So you've got to think about your marketing in that same way. So one way to really get in this is to develop buyer personas or target audience personas. A buyer persona is a visual depiction that brings a firm's audience to life. It gives them a name, age, likes, dislikes. It adds an image. It gives them a firm name, a role. And it brings them to life for you so that you're developing those specific targeting strategies around real personas, or as real as you can get them. This technique helps you think about the audience's characteristics, and then you can hone your messages, your behaviors, the channels, the marketing tactics that you use accordingly. And that means down to what kind of words are you going to use that would resonate with that particular target audience. So here's an example of a buyer persona. So we're calling him Owner Ollie. So he's a business owner. He has a small business. He's an industry expert with no marketing experience. He has a BA from the University of Illinois in history. Mid-40s, married, 3 children. His goals, he likes to deliver on the past sales. He really focuses on the new sales. He wants to keep the business running, but for this example, he lacks marketing expertise. He has no control over his marketing assets. He has no time or budget for marketing. And you want to build something like this out for your practice. What is it that are his biggest challenges? What are his goals around? Is he trying to ease out of the business? Is he trying to exit very rapidly? Is that mean that he wants to go off and enjoy his or her hobbies? And then what challenges lies in the way? What is it that are the obstacles that lie in the way of this person achieving their goals as it relates, again, to your services? So once you know what your audience wants, how they buy, where they are, you're ready to articulate your market position. So make no mistake that every single firm, if they want to be successful, must take a position. I think of it like putting a stake in the ground. This is who we are. This is what we're about. A positioning is a concept that is often misused and misunderstood. Valid positioning begins with a perception of the major issues, needs, or opportunities within a particular target market and your firm's ability to respond to that particular need. A positioning statement, not to be confused if you go mission, vision statements, a positioning statement is a well-crafted message that defines and projects your firm's ability to serve a client's needs and solve their issues with a touch of personality thrown in. So it demonstrates who you are and helps you stand out from the crowd. But it really says, this is what you get. This is how we serve you. This is how we benefit you. This is how we help you achieve your goals, etc. So there are two goals of positioning. One is you want to differentiate the brand, your brand, by positioning it to be seen as having no or few credible substitutions. And it should create market penetration. Again, it should be that stake and say, we own this. This is ours. This is who we are and what we do and how we surround this market. Now, that can be through geographic boundaries. This can be accomplished through particular types of services. It can be through serving particular types of clients by industry. It can also be by serving particular types of clients by their needs or challenges. So how you differentiate is really up to you about who you want to serve and where you want to go. Do you want to travel or not travel? But how you want to go about it and how you and where you provide the most value. A good positioning statement should serve both as a magnet and a detractor, a self-eliminating statement. So by that I mean it should help your prospects, if done correctly, it should help your prospects say, that sounds like me. This firm can help me because they're talking to me. At the same time, it should do the same thing for those that aren't qualified leads. So it should help you qualify your leads. And it's as important to attract as it is to detract and say, for people to say, I don't know that I fit this. I'm not in that sector. I don't have those kind of challenges. This is not what I'm looking for. And that's okay, because you want efficiency and effectiveness. You don't need to be spending time talking to every person out there, and a lot of those being what I call tire kickers. So the next step is messaging. So messaging is the concept or meaning that expresses the value of what you have to offer, your brand, and encourages prospects to engage with your firm. So you should document your messaging before you jump into implementing different tactics, and you want to focus on one overarching firm message that is supported with smaller sub-messages. The strength of your messaging comes from consistent application. Now, what I can say is messaging is often an educated experimentation. So if something isn't quite resonating, you're not quite getting your message across, you want to hone that message if it's not being understood. And the team with Exit Planning Institute, a number of people that are involved, other providers, advisors, are good sounding boards for messaging. Does this resonate? What do you hear when I say this? You may also have different messages for different service lines, or market segments. So it is okay to have different types of messaging, but if there's like a golden thread that ties it all together, that should be your overriding message. But consistency, once you select your message or messages, is the key. The next, what you all been waiting on, is the marketing tactics. So once you lay the strategic groundwork, you want to dive into specific types of marketing tactics to develop your practice. There's absolute plethora of marketing tactics available to advisors these days. Everything from websites and e-marketing, SEO, SEM, social media, to the more traditional advertising and networking. There is no one marketing tactic or channel that works for everyone. And let me repeat that. There is no one marketing tactic or channel that works for everyone. It depends on your goals, where you are, who you're talking to, what you're trying to achieve with your firm, where you are in that process. Because that could look very different, what you've set out in terms of your marketing plan, and the tactics could look very different if you're trying to build your practice from scratch, or you've got a lot of experience and you have a lot of name recognition in the market. Maybe you've built up a lot of referrals, your referral base and your network is really solid. Then other things that you do may feed into that and support those elements, but they look very different when you're at one end of the spectrum versus just getting started or trying to build or rebuild. So an area that is the one thing that I think is a must-have in this day and age is website. But they can look very different. So the website is imperative to at least be found. But you don't, again, depending on what you're trying to do and where you are in your own development, have to have the most expensive, full of bells and whistles kind of website out there. In fact, I've seen some organizations that are at the far end of the spectrum where they have a really solid network and they built this solid reputation. They're out there, they're seen as knowledge leaders, they're quoted and they speak, have very, very simple websites, and it serves the purpose, but it's because they have done all these other things that are working. So you do need, though, some few elements that, regardless of where you are, you do need an updated design and it should be responsive. That means you should be able to look at your website on a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, and a mobile device, and it looks professional. Again, it doesn't have to be the fanciest or most expensive website out there to be effective. It does need to be positioned as a lead generating machine. That's driven by content. This is the most important component of any website in today's day and age. It's what makes people stay on your site, visit again and again. There are a number of ways to create that compelling content. You can do it yourself. You can hire someone. You can have a combination of those, somebody to get started and you edit it. You can do video. You can do written content. It really doesn't matter how you approach it. But if you're trying to build a reputation, if you're trying to position yourself within a certain market segment or geographic region, if you're trying to be seen as a knowledge leader, you must have content. You also need very clear navigation. You make it intuitive. Make it intuitive. Help them find what they want very easily. It should have a very easy structure to follow. The more simple, the better. And include at least one form. And that means they can sign up, subscribe, or download documents from your site. This is how you capture leads. Most importantly, though, the site will do you absolutely no good if there's no way for people to get in touch with you. You're probably rolling your eyes about now and say, really? I mean, isn't that obvious? I had somebody, an advisor, reach out to me a couple of months ago, and I went to call them back, and actually I was going to send them a note. Logged onto their website, hopped onto their website, looked around, no address, telephone number was only in one place, buried about 2 levels deep. If someone wants to call you or reach out or find where you're located, you need to help them do that. So think about what's most important for your prospects. And think that not everybody thinks the same and processes information the same. So go back to those personas and say, how do these people that I'm talking to want to communicate? Is it by email only? Is that going to satisfy them? Or are they the kind of people that are going to want to pick up the phone, that are going to want to see who you are, that are what kind of information is going and content is going to relate to them? Then there's search engine optimization. If an individual, your prospect, can't find your website, it is useless. Search engine optimization, or SEO, in a nutshell, is how you get found online. Now, there are a number of factors that go into this. This is a webinar in and of itself, all about search engine optimization and rankings, but let me hit on a few of the key ones. Search engine results pages, or SERPs, S-E-R-P-S, SERPs. These are the end results. So when you go into Google and you type in, say, exit planners in Ohio, you'll get a page listing on Google. This is called a SERP, or a search engine results page. Google has analytics on almost all websites, so they know if someone searches for exit planner, and if someone went to an exit planner's website and they completed a form, or if someone didn't like the results they saw and modified their search. So Google has the answer to whether a page is good or not good, and will show those results accordingly. So if people have typed in a search string and they haven't proceeded, they haven't clicked on your page, Google is interpreting that as this website is not appealing to a person who is typing in this kind of search string. So Google also knows if your website was built so that people will be happy with it. They know if your site is slow to load. It knows if your website contains any spam or what looks like spam. It knows if you have a shopping cart on there, whether you accept online transactions and whether that site is secure. It continuously places judgment on your website. It knows if you have broken links, broken pages, missing pages. It makes sure that your site is what it says it is. So, just having a very simple but well-constructed site and making sure that you have quality information that relates to your target audience, that speaks to them, is very important. Now, I've already talked briefly on the importance of mobile-friendly or responsive websites, but it's also a factor in how Google ranks your website, how high up in the search engine results. It knows whether your site is friendly for phone and tablets, and because Google's objective is to give you the best results possible. If your site is not viewable on a phone, it will not show as a result for search from a phone. It also is looking for location. So if you've noticed, which you probably have, that Google Maps displays at the top of the results page when you do a search, this is because Google now takes into consideration your physical location. So sitting here in Houston, if I search for pizza, I'm going to get results for pizza in Houston. And I don't have to type in pizza in Houston. It's going to look at my geographic location of the device that I'm searching on. That would give me different results than if I searched for pizza while in Cleveland. It tries to make the result relevant based on who and where you are. In addition, there's a thing called local listings. And local listings are heavily controlled by Google's understanding of where a particular business is located. So it would be kind of silly for us to just expect Google to know where your business is unless you can specifically tell Google your address. But still, many businesses don't, for whatever reason, list their physical address online. So don't expect Google to display your company in search if it doesn't know where you're physically located. And there are certain kinds of strategies called NAP, name, address, place. It's a strategy to make sure that all the address information out there for your business is accurate, and it helps Google know where you're actually located. Another tactic is social media. When you decide to integrate social media into your marketing mix, give consideration as the role you want the channels to play. The reality is this: there is not a client out there that is going to hire your firm to help them with exit planning strategies because of a particular tweet or a post. They're not going to say, "Oh my goodness, that was the best tweet I've ever read in my life. You're hired." Not that directly. But social media does play an important role in today's marketing strategies. One is it can help you build brand awareness. Just help people find out who you are and know that you exist. So it can, just elevate your name awareness, your brand awareness. It can also improve search engine rankings. Several years ago, Google changed its algorithms and they introduced two major sweeping changes called penguin and panda. If you think about what a penguin and a panda have in common, they're both black and white animals. And Google introduced this and named them that accordingly to address both what was called black hat and white hat strategies for search engine rankings. So helping you get found. We've already addressed SERPs. But when they did this, when they made those changes, penguin and panda, one of the elements of those changes said, real-time information ranks higher than static information. What's real-time information? Social media posts. So, social media posts happen instantaneously or whenever you want them to happen. And so that helps you in search engine rankings when you drive traffic back to your website. It can also help you demonstrate your firm's culture. Now, keep in mind that as you're working with your clients, if they're implementing social strategies, you can also look to see what they're doing and what they're saying. Are they demonstrating the kind of culture that with the messaging that supports the kind of services that you're providing for them? So if they're kind of saying and doing something else and you're positioning and marketing, helping them promote themselves and plan for their exit strategy in a different way, and it sounds like it could be two different companies, you want to call that to their attention and rein that in so that it sounds like a unified front. Now, as part of social media, lots of advisors use LinkedIn. It's the #1 and has been and continues to be the #1 business networking social media site in the world. In fact, it's estimated that 40% of LinkedIn users check the site on a daily basis. You need to be on LinkedIn. So there are several ways. And one is there's a personal profile and a company page on LinkedIn. So that means get your personal profile complete. It should include your current firm information, your past job experience, your education, your skills, whereas your company profile should have an interesting company description, identify industry areas of focus, service focus, and include a link back to your company website, as well as any other relevant links out there. You should build your network, and you can do that from your connections as well as through industry or network interest areas. So your connection, what I see most often is that online networks in LinkedIn tend to be built haphazardly. In other words, whoever has happened to send you a request to connect is who you connected to. No rhyme or reason. I want you to go back and think about what it is you want out of LinkedIn. So if this is to keep tabs on other people, the people that you went to college with or people that you used to work with, then build your network out like that. But if you're about LinkedIn and you're going to spend any quality time in this type of channel, then you want to build that network strategically. And that means your network, your connections on LinkedIn should be people who can help you achieve your goals. Now, I don't mean in a kind of used car salesman type of way. What I mean is that it should be strategically built so that you're making connections and you're demonstrating knowledge in front of a group of people who have the propensity to help you achieve your goals, to work in conjunction. It should also be built as a win-win. You scratch their back, they scratch yours. It should be an active referral network among your connections. You want to engage your followers, post helpful educational information. Go back to those personas, think about their needs, and think about if you need to develop a persona for your network, because your network, your connections in LinkedIn may actually be built with influencers in the market segments and not end users. So if you're putting out content that's really meant for a prospective client, but your network are advisors to those clients, or maybe bankers or what have you, other attorneys or accountants, whatever other type of advisors to what would make a good client for you, you want to help them use the kind of end user knowledge that you might be posting on LinkedIn. And of course, as I mentioned several times, demonstrate your knowledge leadership, driving traffic back to your website, share quality, useful, informative content that shows your point of view. And it can be anything. It can be a blog, an article, a video series, whatever you do, just make sure it is genuine and above all, shares who you are as an individual and who you are as a firm. So it has some personality to it. Facebook, another good social channel that we see a lot of people using. It's a good place to demonstrate the personality and culture of professional firms. Now, they have made it a little difficult in recent weeks for brands to appear in news feeds, but it's still a worthwhile channel in which to engage. And we'll see where that goes in terms of the kind of changes they've implemented and where this is going. We're monitoring those kinds of things, but there are some changes afoot. Still, though, it's a great place to be found, and it can show your personality. You do want to, on not your Facebook personal page, but a business page, build out your navigation tabs. So you can customize the tabs to highlight particular products or services. You can have newsletters on there, customer testimonials, case studies, and help people find specific content. You can almost think like Facebook business page, like a miniature website. Facebook, though, perfect medium for visual content. Your catchy status updates are good, but visual content is better. Increase engagement by posting videos or images. Use your imagination. Help people stop on your page and realize that it's okay, again, to show that you do have a personality, whatever that personality is. Now, you can always experiment with boosting and advertising if you want to increase visibility. We're getting some good results for professional service providers, for advisors, through boosting and advertising on Facebook. So it's reaching the right kind of audiences. The good news is that you can experiment with boosts and advertising on Facebook for very little money. And you can turn it on or off. So you can experiment for a few weeks and see what happens, see if it's driving any traffic, because you're going to be sure and monitor Google Analytics on your website. And if it's not, you can make some adjustments. But again, it's a way to experiment and with very small budgets. You want to, in any of your social channels, monitor industry leaders and competitors. What are they doing? What are they saying? Is there any hints that you can pick up on, or anything that they might be posting about that gives you an idea into where they might be headed? You don't want to be caught flat-footed. And again, showcase your culture, your personality. Don't be afraid to have a sense of humor. It doesn't always need to be serious in order to be effective. Now, I don't mean just out there filled with jokes and ha-has and there's no serious information. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying that you can deliver your point of view and say, yeah, I'm a real person. I actually have a personality, and that's okay. Another tool is obviously networking. Tried and true strategy for a lot of advisors. To get results from networking without wasting a lot of time and eating a lot of chicken and drinking a lot of bad white wine, you have to plan. I often hear professionals talking about all the different networking events they attend and all the groups to which they belong. But when we analyze their client base and how optimal clients were obtained, seldom do I see networking activities producing the results. In fact, most of the time, they're very surprised. So activity does not equal results. I want you to focus on results. Go back to those personas. You should have a very clear vision of the type of people you would like to meet. And again, each networking event may be a little different. You might go to events, and whatever it is, it might be a networking event or a conference, etc., that may be filled with prospects. And that's where your true buyer personas come into play. You may go to other events where it is filled with more referral sources. those are very different. Your messaging should be different. Your approach should be different. But if an event does not put you in the position to either meet an optimal or ideal prospect, then, or meet solid referral sources, I think twice about going. You know, if you just like the people, then make that your purpose. I'm just going there to have a glass of wine or a cocktail or whatever and meet some new friends. And that's it. But there are some strategies that you can implement to really get the most out of these kind of events. First and foremost, don't be afraid to make introductions. Look for people who are not engaged in conversation, who are standing by themselves, who seem not to know anybody else. Go strike up a conversation. Bring them into your invite them. Hey, would you like to join us? That's how you expand your network. Introduce them to others. Introduce them to the people you've just met. Do you know each other? Be the central point of introductions, because that'll put you as the person everyone wants to know. You'll be viewed as the super connector. You want to move with purpose at this event. So prepare conversation, entrance, and exit strategies. You can even go so far as to prepare a few questions you might ask when you enter a conversation. So you might ask about their business, you might ask about the events, how long they've been coming to that event, how long they've lived in a particular city or area, how long they've been involved in a particular industry. Just go with some questions to ask, particularly if you tend to be a little on the shy side. You want to prepare. Not like you're asking 20 questions or grilling them, but make them genuine. It's to give you a way to know what to say. So, you know, what interests you outside of work? What is it that you find of most interest these days? What just fascinates you? What do you like to do outside of the office? Things like that will get the conversation started. Now, you also need to have some things that can help you exit the conversation. Because remember, you're there to build rapport. You're not there to sell something or to close a deal. Build the connections. So they're not really made for these long, drawn-out kind of conversations. You want to have brief kind of conversations and that movement with purpose through the room in a floating, easy kind of way. So exiting a conversation is as important as entering the conversation. So you might want to say something like, Christine, I really enjoyed meeting you today and have enjoyed our conversation, but I want to give you ample time to meet some other people. And I want us to have ample time to really dive in to the next level of our conversation. Then grab your smartphone and say, hey, let's look at your calendar. You have your calendar with you. Let's set a date for coffee or lunch or another meeting. I'll send you an email invitation. And set something right then and there, and then you can move on. Shake their hand, say it was a pleasure, and exit. Finally, have a follow-up plan in place. Take notes on their business cards or in the notes section of your smartphone. Set time aside on your calendar within, and here's the key, 24 hours of the event to implement the follow-up plan. The longer that you wait, the less likely you are to get that done. I always recommend drafting 1 or 2 follow-up notes, one for prospective clients, one for referral sources. Before you go to an event, have them in your drafts folder. Then when you get back to your office the very next morning or even that evening, it's easy to pull out those business cards, make a few modifications to the drafts that you've written, and get them out the door. Get them sent. So some of the tools that you may consider, because I know all of this can be overwhelming. There's some ways that you can leverage tools to add a little automation to your marketing effort. Whether you're using an inside organization or even a firm like ours or other kind of outsourced assistance. So a few that I wanted to talk about today were HubSpot, TimeTrade, Buffer, Google Analytics. So HubSpot, now this is a marketing automation tool. This is pretty sophisticated. In full disclosure, we are a certified HubSpot partner. We have a number of clients that use this platform. And in fact, we use their CRM, their web platform, and their marketing hub, and their sales hub ourselves. HubSpot is an inbound marketing and sales software that helps you attract visitors, convert leads, and close engagements. It's very user-friendly. It's a cloud-based platform. It gives you everything from contact management to deal tracking to social media scheduling to web hosting. You can create landing pages. You can create forms, engagement. You can have it automatically track emails and phone calls made to clients and prospects. You can have the e-marketing tool and the marketing tools set up some pre-scheduled automated marketing campaigns in there, are called workflows, so that if somebody, for example, if somebody comes in and they look at a certain piece of content, and then after they look at that content or download that content, let's say it's a white paper, then you can have the workflow set up where 2 days later, let's say, you can pick your timing, but 2 days later, you can have the system automatically send that person a different piece of content. Maybe it's an infographic, or maybe it's a link to a blog post about a similar kind of complementary type of content to the one they downloaded. And it can do that for you, so it leverages your time. The other tools that come into handy are things like meeting scheduling software. There's a couple of them, there are many out there, but a couple of the ones that I've seen used and we use ourselves. TimeTrade is one of them. Calendly is another. There's several, like I mentioned, that are out there. What they do is they tie in your calendar, and it doesn't give the person access to see your calendar, but it just says if there's something that I have booked on my calendar, then don't show that as an available time. And so anything that's already there, it doesn't give that as an option. And you can tell it, I want to schedule a 30-minute call or an hour-long meeting with this individual, and I want 15 minutes or 30 minutes between, or I need an hour between meetings. And then it just takes it from there. And then it gives the individual on the receiving end the ability to click, select a time that's more convenient for them, and it gets scheduled. And so it eliminates that bebopping of emails. Can you meet on this day? What about this day? No, I can't meet then. Oh, I can't do 8:30. Well, what about 10? No, I can't do 10. How about 1? No, I can't do. It eliminates that. So the person just click. You can put that in your e-signature as well. So if you're doing a follow-up and they get this e-signature that says, if you'd like to schedule a meeting, click here. It's easy. You can also use social media scheduling and reporting tools like Buffer or Hootsuite, so you can schedule several posts at the same time. You can pre-schedule them. It goes out. It tells you that they've been posted, and they're either free or low-cost kind of tools that are out there. Analytics tools are invaluable, like Google Analytics, Google Webmaster Tools, DataBox is another one. We use these kind of tools ourselves. They can help you track who's coming to your website, what people are doing when they get there, if they're just bouncing right out, if they're exploring in a certain area. You can look at the paths or the flows that they take to see if there's some area where they're just getting stuck and therefore you don't have the right kind of information there, you need to make adjustments. Lots of tools out there. We use many of these tools ourselves. It's a way that we create efficiency and effectiveness for our own marketing efforts. And you can too. So I know we're almost out of time, and we've covered a lot of information, but I am more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right. Well, thanks, Christine. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type it in quickly now. There are none in there at this time, but I'll give you just a minute or two to try to type those in. Again, if you think of something after the fact, feel free to shoot me an email, and I can connect you with Christine. If you don't have her direct contact information, we'd be happy to get those answered for you. And again, I know many of you were at last year's summit event, but Christine will be there again this year speaking, so we're very excited for that. So make sure to check that out as well. But it looks like no questions are coming through, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I want to thank everyone for participating, and I want to thank especially Christine for taking the time to present today. I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll be talking soon.
Great. Thank you very much for having me, Josh. And one final thought in departing today, I'd just like to say, pick the marketing efforts that you can keep going and that work for you. Just because somebody else down the street or someone you meet at a conference is doing certain kinds of things and have this vast array of marketing efforts going doesn't mean you have to do that. Start small and do them well. And then you can add, and that's a perfectly acceptable strategy to implement. We are all over social media, and I hope you'll reach out and stay in touch.
All right. Thanks, Christine. Bye, everybody.